The Book of Ruth is the 8th book of the Bible, and at just 4 short chapters, it might seem small, but don't be fooled. Ruth tells one of the most beautiful and powerful stories in all of Scripture. It's a story of loyalty, redemption, and how God works through ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things. It takes place during the time of the Judges, a dark, chaotic period in Israel's history. While Judges shows us what happens when everyone does what's right in their own eyes, Ruth zooms in on a single family and shows us what faithfulness looks like even in hard times. The story begins with a famine. A man named Elimelech leaves Bethlehem with his wife Naomi and their 2 sons. They settle in Moab, a foreign land, often seen as an enemy of Israel. While there, tragedy strikes. Elimelech dies. Then both of Naomi's sons die, leaving Naomi with her 2 Moabite daughters-in-law Orpah and Ruth. Broken, bitter, and grieving, Naomi decides to return to Bethlehem. She tells both daughters-in-law to stay behind and rebuild their lives. Orpah agrees, but Ruth refuses. In one of the most powerful declarations of loyalty in the Bible, Ruth says, "Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God." Ruth chooses faith, not just in Naomi, but in Naomi's God. Back in Bethlehem, Naomi and Ruth are poor and vulnerable. Ruth begins to gather leftover grain in the fields, a practice allowed by Jewish law to help the needy. By chance, which, in God's world, is never really chance, she ends up in the field of Boaz, a relative of Naomi's late husband. Boaz notices Ruth, protects her, and shows her kindness. He learns of her loyalty to Naomi and blesses her. Naomi sees this as a sign of hope. She explains that Boaz is a kinsman-redeemer, someone who, according to Israelite law, could marry Ruth and restore the family line. Naomi sends Ruth to approach Boaz in a bold but respectful way, asking him to take that role. Boaz is moved by her character and agrees. But there's a legal complication. Another relative is closer in line to redeem the family. In a public negotiation at the town gate, Boaz handles everything with honor and integrity. The other man steps aside, and Boaz marries Ruth. Together, they have a son named Obed, and here's the twist. Obed becomes the grandfather of King David, meaning Ruth, a Moabite woman, becomes part of the royal line of Israel. And not just that, she becomes part of the family line of Jesus. A woman from a foreign land, widowed and destitute, becomes one of the most important women in biblical history, not because of wealth or status, but because of faithfulness and courage. The Book of Ruth is a masterpiece of storytelling. It's filled with literary beauty, deep meaning, and theological richness. But more than that, it shows us God's heart. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, during famine, loss, and chaos, God is at work. He's weaving stories of redemption behind the scenes. It reminds us that God values loyalty, humility, and kindness, that He can use anyone regardless of background to accomplish His purposes. And most of all, it reminds us that redemption isn't just a theme. It's the heart of God's plan. In many ways, Boaz is a picture of Jesus, the ultimate redeemer. Just like Boaz, Jesus steps in to restore what was lost. He willingly redeems those who are outsiders and brings them into the family of God. And Ruth's story, it's our story. Outsiders brought near by grace. So, while the Book of Ruth may be small in size, it's massive in message. It's a reminder that no one is overlooked in God's kingdom, that even in suffering there's purpose, and that through simple acts of love and faith, God is writing a much bigger story than we can see. Thanks for watching. That was Book 8 in our journey through the 66 books of the Bible. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if it helped you. And join us next time as we dive into Book 9 to 1 Samuel, where we meet Israel's first kings and see the beginning of a new era.